When most think of the Haitian Revolution, a pivotal episode in the island's history, most think of Jean-Jacques Dessalines or maybe Toussaint Louverture. But did you know that one of the early leaders of the revolution wasn't Haitian? Dutty Boukman, also known as Boukman Dutty, was a fearless leader who helped spark the Haitian Revolution, which eventually led to the independent Republic of Haiti. Born in Senegambia, present-day Senegal and Gambia, where he was a Muslim cleric, he was captured, enslaved, and transported to Jamaica. After being discovered planning an insurgency in Jamaica, Dutty Boukman was sold to a plantation owner in Domingue, modern-day Haiti, where he rose to prominence as a Maroon leader and converted back to his own religion, becoming a Hungan, the title for a male Voodoo priest. In the 18th century, the island of Domingue played an important role in colonial rule. It was under French control and its economy grew, but at a huge cost to the slaves. The brutal treatment and exploitation of the land and people fueled slaves' rage. As slaves continued to suffer, their longing for freedom intensified, paving the way for a rebellion against their white masters. Along this timeline, a slave in Haiti, Dutty Boukman rose up to challenge his French masters and inspire revolutions in various plantations in Haiti. On August 21, 1791, the day before the revolution began, a voodoo ceremony was held by Dutty Boukman at Bois Caïman in the north of the island to organize and pray for the slave revolt. The co-conspirators in attendance included Jean-François, Georges Biassou, Jeannot, and others. According to scholars, Boukman was joined by priestess Cécile Fatiman, a voodoo mambo, at the religious ceremony at Bois Caïman, which served as the catalyst to the 1791 slave revolt and is usually considered the beginning of the Haitian Revolution. At the ceremony, an animal was sacrificed, an oath was taken, and Boukman gave the following speech. "The God who created the earth, who created the sun that gives us light, the God who holds up the ocean, who makes the thunder roar, our God who has ears to hear, you who are hidden in the clouds, who watch us from where you are. You see all that the white has made us suffer. The white man's God asks him to commit crimes, but the God within us wants to do good. Our God who is so good, so just, he orders us to revenge our wrongs. It's he who will direct our arms and bring us the victory. It's he who will assist us. We all should throw away the image of the white man's God who is so pitiless. Listen to the voice for liberty that speaks in all our hearts." After the prayer, Boukman is said to have given a prophecy that 3 slaves, Jean-François, Biassou, and Jeannot, would lead revolutions that would free the slaves of Saint-Domingue. Thousands of slaves attended this secret voodoo ceremony as a tropical storm approached. The lightning and thunder were interpreted as positive omens, and later that night, the slaves began to kill their masters, plunging the colony into civil war. Please take a second and subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications to be prompted for new episodes in the future. On August 22, 1791, the enslaved Africans of the French colony of Saint-Domingue, led by Boukman himself, Toussaint Louverture, and Jean-Jacques Dessalines, rallied supporters and began an uprising which changed the transatlantic slave trade forever. They joined forces with the island's free people of color the following day and started taking the rest of the plantations in the colony. The signal to begin the revolt had been given by Dutty Boukman and Cécile Fatiman during the religious ceremony held at Bois Caïman. Within the next 10 days, slaves had taken control of the entire northern province in an unprecedented slave revolt. Whites kept control of only a few isolated, fortified camps. Boukman was one of the first leaders to successfully stage a slave rebellion, even after his first plot failed in Jamaica. However, the rebellion's early leadership was fractured. He was killed by the French plantation owners and colonial troops on the 7th of November 1791, just a few months after the beginning of the uprising. The French then publicly displayed Boukman's head in an attempt to dispel the aura of invincibility that Boukman had cultivated, but his influence lived on. His leadership inspired others, including Toussaint Louverture, Jean-Jacques Dessalines, and Henri Christophe, who continued the fight for independence. The fact that French authorities had to do this illustrates the impact Boukman made on the views of Haitian people during this time. The plantation owners had long feared such a revolt and were well armed with some defensive preparations. But within weeks, the number of slaves who joined the revolt in the north reached 100,000. Within the next 2 months, as the violence escalated, the slaves killed 4,000 whites and burned all, destroyed 180 sugar plantations and hundreds of coffee and indigo plantations. By 1792, they controlled northern and western Saint-Domingue, present-day Haiti. In the south, beginning in September, 13,000 slaves and rebels led by Romaine la Prophétesse, based in Troukofi, took supplies from and burned plantations, freed slaves, and occupied and burned the area's 2 major cities, Léogâne and Jacmel. The revolution eventually led to Haiti becoming the first free black republic on January 1st, 1804, making it the first nation in history established by formerly enslaved people after overthrowing European colonial rule. Other leaders of the Haitian Revolution include Toussaint Louverture, a charismatic and skillful leader who led a successful slave revolt against the French after Dutty Boukman's death. He turned the colony into a country governed by former black slaves. Jean-Jacques Dessalines, a military leader who served as Toussaint Louverture as lieutenant. He led the final uprising after Bonaparte captured Louverture. Henri Christophe worked in a hotel as a member of the privileged class of slaves. This gave him the opportunity to understand the social and racial classes in Saint-Domingue's cities and ports. The revolt began on 22nd August 1791 and ended in 1804 with the former colonies successfully achieved independence. It involved black, biracial, French, Spanish, British, and Polish participants, with the ex-slave Toussaint Louverture emerging as Haiti's most prominent general. The successful revolution was a defining moment in the history of the Atlantic world, and the revolution's effects on the institution of slavery were felt throughout the Americas. The end of French rule and the abolition of slavery in the former colony was followed by a successful defense of the freedoms the former slaves had won, and with the collaboration of already free people of color. The revolution was the largest slave uprising since Spartacus's unsuccessful revolt against the Roman Republic nearly 1,900 years earlier, and challenged long-held European beliefs about alleged black inferiority and about slaves' ability to achieve and maintain their own freedom. The rebels' organizational capacity and persistence under siege sparked stories that astonished and terrified slave owners across the region. By 1792, slave insurgents controlled 1/3 of Saint-Domingue. The success of the uprising made the National Assembly recognize it was in a dangerous situation. In March 1792, the Assembly extended civil and political rights to free men of color in the colonies. The decision stunned countries across Europe, including the United States, but the Assembly was determined to put an end to the insurrection. Aside from establishing rights to free people of color, the Assembly sent 6,000 French soldiers to the island, but this time not for battle purposes. Léger Félicité Sontonax, a new governor appointed by Paris, abolished slavery in the northern province and had unfriendly ties with white plantation owners. Meanwhile, in 1793, France declared war on Great Britain, leading Britain to declare British sovereignty over the colony, Saint-Domingue, believing that the British would maintain slavery. The British Prime Minister, William Pitt the Younger, believed that the success of the slave revolt in Haiti would inspire insurrections in other British Caribbean colonies. He further thought that taking Saint-Domingue, the richest of the French colonies, would be a useful bargaining chip in eventual peace negotiations with France, and in the short while, occupying Saint-Domingue would mean diverting its wealth into the British treasury. The British troops who arrived in Saint-Domingue had an exceptionally low survival rate, with many dying of diseases such as yellow fever. The British government would deploy less trained youths to keep strong regiments. The inefficiency of the new soldiers, along with the devastation of disease on the army, resulted in a disastrous campaign in Saint-Domingue. American journalist James Perry notes that the great irony of the British campaign in Saint-Domingue was that it ended as a complete debacle, costing the British treasury millions of pounds and the British military thousands upon thousands of dead, all for nothing. The revolution eventually led to Haiti becoming the first free black republic on January 1st, 1804, making it the first nation in history established by formerly enslaved people after overthrowing European colonial rule. Exploring Dutty Boukman's life, we see his experiences in Jamaica and Saint-Domingue shaped his dream of a free society. His legacy inspires and motivates many today. It reminds us of the power of courage and determination against all odds. Bye for now. Catch you on our next episode. Thank you.